Yes, we're live. Hello, everyone. We're here for a Thrive Talk Live. Tonight, I'm here with Michelle Jones. She's also a Circle of Champions champion. She's an amazing, amazing woman. And we're going to be doing Thrive Talk today with her. But if this is the first time that you and I meet, I want to introduce myself. My name is SARAI NAMMUR. I am a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. I'm also the founder of Trinity Community Mental Health Center and Circle of Champions Worldwide. And my passion is helping people overcome trauma and adversity. And the whole purpose of the whole purpose of Thrive Talk is to bring you the good news and bring you the good stories of people who overcome, which is actually the majority of the people. The majority of the people overcome. We just get bombarded with the news. We get bombarded with the news and the bad stories and the bad things that happen, and the people who do not get over their drug addiction, the people who do not get, all the bad news. But I want to prove to you that there's story after story after story after story of people who do overcome no matter what you go through. I'm an example of that. Michelle is an example of that. And just about every person I bring here week after week is an example of, if we've been able to overcome, so can you. So that's why we're here. Actually, when I spoke to Michelle before coming on, that's exactly what she said. She wants everyone to know that if she did it, you could do it as well. So that's what we're doing tonight. And so Michelle Jones is known as Chef Jones. She actually lives here in Florida, not too far from where I live. She lives in Tamarack. And she's running for commissioner of Tamarack, which I keep saying she's already the commissioner of Tamarack.
Speak it into existence. Speak it into existence.
I actually did a live a little while ago, and I said I'm going to be with Michelle Jones, commissioner of Tamarack, and I was like, wait, what? Did that already happen?
Yeah, it's already happened. It's already happened.
So she's running for commissioner of Tamarack, but that's just like the new chapter of her life, because there's so much to Michelle, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her. But what I'm going to do is, since there's so much about you, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and talk about like a little bit of what you're doing right now, so that they could get to know you a little bit, which a lot of people already know you because of the posts that you do on Circle of Champions. But just let everyone know a little bit more about you.
My name is Michelle Jones, and as you said, I live in Florida. I'm a mom, and that's the most important thing for me, is that I'm a mom and I raised a terrific young man. I have a master's in psychology. I have been a culinary instructor in the Broadwood school system, and also in the Miami-Dade system. As a matter of fact, we have something in common, because I used to work for Here Is Help. And you were telling me the other day that you get clients from Here Is Help. I worked for Here Is Help in Miami for 7 years. And I did the rehabilitation of young men from the age of 12 to 27. So that's something that we have in common. Also, having psychology in our background is the same. That's a teacher. I sit on the Broadwood School Diversity Board, so I do go into the school system and I do see the schools and I do know what's going on. And I think that's where my passion came from, to also, that's a part of my passion to also run as commissioner, is to have, a voice, a bigger voice for people with learning disability, for people that have been raped, for different, just so much that I'm seeing in the community while I'm knocking doors, that people are losing hope. And I think that's what got me right here today with you, to let people know that it is time for us to get our voices back. We have given people our voices all the time. We have been to their weaknesses and listened to their lies. We need to put people in our community that cares about our community. And I know that we can sense that, and we can see right through the BS that a lot of these commissioners and mayors and people that are running that give us. And we really can, as people, tap into that. But we are so starving right now for leadership that we'll just take anything. So please remember, I know I'm not supposed to do this part, but make sure that you do your research on everybody, even in Miami. Here, you live in Miami. Here in Tamarack, do your research on every commissioner, every mayor, everybody that's running, and make sure that you're making the right choice, and take your voice back, take your power back.
So we're gonna take a step back, because everybody's seeing you come in like you're coming in like strong, but this is something that's been burning inside of you, and I want you to take people back to like your purpose, like why Why has this become so important to you? Why are you running for commissioner? How did this become a mission for you?
I honestly, I've never even, there's absolutely not even a glimpse of 5, 7 years ago. I've never seen myself as that. I know that I'm a leader. I know that I have influenced people by my story. And I know because I'm such a fighter that I'm an example to, I said, I'm an example to a lot of people. And I know that I was meant for something bigger than, bigger than what I'm thinking, but never in my life. All the things that I've gone through, all the pain, I never thought once that this was where it would lead me. I honestly did not ever like politics. I never have. There's a period in my life where I didn't vote because I just didn't believe in politics, but not understanding that it's really not about just politics. It's also about, different, because you're not only just voting for a president, you're also voting here in a local government and how your city runs. So that's never something that I saw. But going to school, I was raised in Connecticut, and I was in a lot of different programs, a lot of at-risk programs. My first at-risk program, I was 15. I was very angry child because I think being molested and being raped also had a lot to do with it. So I had a lot of anger that was built up because it was something that I really never talked about. And most of the time, as you know, families don't usually want to hear that stuff. So you usually just shove it underneath the rug and leave it. Right. So I had a lot of issues. I have a lot of anger issues. And so I took it out. I used to fight a lot in school, I just had a lot of problems in school. So, and then not only that, but being a student with learning disability, I was always in special education. And so, my mom doesn't have the education to understand what was going on. And she did her best to the best of her knowledge to what she could do to help me. And I've been in therapy. That time they put me in all different kind of program. One of the program I remember even today was teaching soccer to kids that was just as angry as I was, but they were younger. And that did for the summer. So that's my love of the at-risk youth, the nobodies, the people that nobody has faith in, the people that no one, the monsters, the kids that have been abused. And then what people don't understand and know, somebody made them this way. They didn't just get up one day and decided to be monsters, and it depends on how that was nurtured. But I was sent to a lot of different programs. And so I got a lot of counseling. And so, that led me to the passion of wanting to make a difference of the people that are more vulnerable.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And that's exactly why I have Circle of Champions Worldwide and why we do Thrive Talk. And you're such a great example of that, because everything that you went through, as terrible as it was and as painful as it was, built you up to be what you're doing, and gave you the purpose that you're doing. So that's like amazing. And the other thing is that the other part of your story that's so amazing is that you said you never thought you'd be running for office, but here you are running for office. And I'm looking at everyone who's listening, and a lot of times we don't know where our path is going to take us. And look where it took you. Like, you started off, you said you have a sexual abuse history. You were very angry. You were in juvenile programs because of how angry you were. You had all this stuff happening. Who would have thought that you were going to be Chef Jones, that you were going to end up with a master's degree? Most people that with learning disabilities, you start thinking that I'm not good enough and I can't do it. And you've
been told that you're not good enough.
Right. You're told that you can't do it. But tell me a little bit about that. So at what point did you cross the bridge and say, oh, yes, I can do it? When did that happen?
You will not believe the story. When I had my son, when I got married and I had my son, both my ex-husband and I were pretty young when we got married. And today I can say thank God for that, because my son now is away and I can enjoy, still being youthful.
Yeah.
And enjoy him.
Because we're so young.
Exactly. So you get to be like this, and your kid is away. So now it's time for when he left the house. I played "I'm Coming." It's like, what's it? It's my turn to see. But anyway, I'm sorry, I just go off from that sometimes.
That's okay.
Let's go back to where we were talking about it. But that was definitely so with my, there's a teacher that wrote to me, and you know, I went to Dave Thomas Education Center to learn how to read. When I had my son, there was a doctor in Boca. I'm not sure she's still alive, and I keep looking for her, but I'm not coming up with her name. And if anybody here, her name is Dr. Marjorie Zinsky. And I called a hotline one night because I was going to, I just wanted to die because I felt within myself, I can't read. How am I going to become a wife? And I remember calling that hotline and I asked them, and I think I was, but I probably supposed to be getting married. I think even a month before that or something like that. I was really depressed because now I was going into a different phase in my life. And now I have to open up. But then after I had my son, it was even worse because I'm like, I can't read to him. How am I going to read to him? You know, and why can't I read? I'm very intelligent. Nobody knows that I can't read. And it was like, okay, what's going on with me? So at the afternoon, they gave me some numbers where I can call. And I called these numbers the following morning to get some help because I was really depressed and I really wanted to die. And I didn't want to be here. And so from those numbers, they sent me for different training also. But also then I end up at vocational rehabilitation, which is VR, which is now I'm a provider and a vendor for VR. I help people myself. So you see, all of my life, anything I did, I always make sure that I'm back there to help.
Yes.
And let me not stray from that. I go to vocational rehabilitation, and so they send me for all these different testing. And one of the places that they sent me was to see her and to bring up my reading. Then after that, I couldn't afford to go to her anymore. So I had to go back to the government, and that's how, you know, Voc Rehab took over. And they sent me to Dave Thomas Education Center to learn to read. And that's where I got my reading up. And there was a teacher there that wrote a letter. And I have the letter. I still, until this day, have the letter. I saved it because it was important to me. And she wrote, I told her that I wanted to be a teacher. She asked us to talk about what we wanted to be. And I said, I want to be a teacher. And, you know, after she said to me, Michelle, your dream to be a teacher, it's not possible. Your disability is severe. You know, your test scores that state that you're almost mentally retarded. And I promise you, I got into my car and I sat in the car and I felt broken. I felt angry. I went through all these different emotions before, and I took that anger and I go, and she wrote the letter and she wrote it to VR and she told them that I needed more help, that my reading was a second grade or a third grade level, and there's no way that they can do this. And she told me that I would probably have to go, and they're going to send me to some training to do janitorial work or to do, and I'm like, I don't have a problem with anybody that does their work because it's not where you work, is what you do with the money. I know what you save. But all of that just almost broke me. And so I went home and I took that anger and I became a teacher. Okay? I took that anger and graduated with my GPA. Every one of the schools, they can check my GPAs. I graduated every day, top of my class, in culinary, in residential design, in my master's degree, every single thing, Kaiser University, every single one of them, I made sure. And that's where I said to myself, watch me.
Watch me. That's good.
Watch me. Okay? Watch me. Watch me become not only a teacher, but one of the best teacher ever. Watch me become, you know, it angers me until today because I still see it. In our education system, I still see it where they tell these children what they can and cannot do. And when they have them on so much medication. Now, I was working, I don't want to call the name, but when I just got out of school with my master's degree, I went and worked in an alternative program where they send these kids in the alternative programs when they saw them in school. And I watched this place and I was so angry because when the kids came in there, they're on so much medication. They can't face their problems. They can't deal with their issues, and they're breastfed, and they're set up to fail in our society. They are, and that angers me every time I see that. And this is where my passions start every day when I'm in the community and I see older people and I see people that's taking advantage of older people. I see them lonely. I see the suicide rate. You and I know that the suicide rate for elderly people has doubled.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me, that is what makes me get up every day. And my son, when I had my son, I know I had to change the world for him and my grandchildren. I had to leave some kind of legacy behind for him to say, my mom made that happen to help someone else. So when I got appointed to the Broadway School Diversity Board, it was something like this, that one of the school board members saw me and she said to me, I would love for you to be a part of my team. Your passion is what I see, and your fight for the children, because I wanted to make sure that every child like me is that they have these things that set up with these kids that has nothing to do with the children. They're not focusing, they're not targeting the disability of these kids because they're ashamed. And then they create these plans for these kids that has absolutely nothing to do with their disability, but has to do with something else. They need to tap into these kids, and that's what I'm changing, and that's what I want to change. Right now, my computer has a bunch of stuff on it. I'm not ashamed anymore. But think of it now, at my age, people still say, what? She didn't read that well. I don't really care. You know, I don't care anymore. I'm old enough now not to care. But if I still feel funny away, could you imagine those kids and how they feel?
Yeah.
Fighting that you see. Most of these kids, I've started my research years back. And most of these kids that you see that's doing shooting, that are doing fighting, they're all kids that was diagnosed with some kind of learning disability that turned into a mental disability.
Right. Right.
And you can check that, because you'll see a lot of them. Even the one that, you know, I don't even want to talk about that, you know, but the tragic we had 2 years ago, almost.
Yeah, I know what you were going to talk about. Yeah, that was that went right between the cracks. That one just slipped through the cracks.
No, a lot of them slipped through the cracks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A lot of them slipped through the cracks. And I'm telling you, you should see these alternative schools. And for somebody like me that's in there, and people will sit, I go out and knock on doors, and I hear when these people are judging harshly these young adults, but they have absolutely no idea their stories. They don't know that there was somebody like me that had no support and no help, that had to turn to crimes like that. Right now, I work with Florida Department of Education, Vocational Rehabilitation. And I'm VR's pride and joy story, because they've had me since I started my associate degree in residential design at the Art Institute, and before that. And I can tell you that the doctor, and I have paper, and thank God I kept all these things, and I looked at them and told me that I was mentally retarded and I could not learn. Watch me.
And you know what? Thank God you repurposed that anger. And anger could be so powerful. And you could have used it against yourself, like when you said you were having suicidal thoughts. But thank God you repurposed that anger and said, "Watch me." Because look what you became, and look at what you're doing. And you haven't even started.
No.
Now, you know, when you become commissioner and everything, you're gonna I said it right. When you become commissioner, you're gonna impact so many lives. And it takes someone like you, someone who has been there, done that, overcome, and you're gonna change. You're not gonna allow people to say you can't do it because label you, like that's so.
They love to you know, and one of the things I used to do a lot is hide my disability. And I used to hide it with my personality. And I used to stay away from the things that I have to admit now. But I learned a long time ago, being a Black woman, that life is never going to be fair to all of us. It isn't. And so I learned to overcome, and I know that shame is something that will keep you in bondage.
Yes.
Shame will keep you in prison and keep your mind in prison. So when you say, oh, I have been, now that little girl that was abused, that little girl that was sexual abused, that little girl is no longer here. I'm a woman and I'm nobody's victim.
Right.
I'm not, I have healed that little girl. And when you have healed that kind of pain and you have accepted what happened to you and you can speak it, then that's the thing that propels you into who you're supposed to be. Now, one of the best things for me is that I know my purpose in life. I know what I'm here for. And so I can't take another road anymore, because every time I take that road, I fail at every single thing I do. I fail at it because it's not my journey. It's not the journey that was created for me. This was the journey that was created for me. This platform was built for me to help people. And I went through all of these things. And when I hear a young girl speak of her abuse, I can relate to her. When I hear somebody speak of abandonedness, I can relate to that. When I hear somebody speak of homeless, I can relate to that. You understand? For 1 year, I rented out my house and had to move in with my mom, and I couldn't get to stay with my mom because my son was 9, and my son and I had to stay in the car every night to hide from the people. So I know everything I had to do, everything that someone can say. I know what it is to be hungry. I know what it is for my light to turn on. I know what it is for my car to break down and I can't find a way out. I know what it is to do all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the decision that to never be a victim to any circumstances in my life. If you want, there is a way out. You just have to take a deep breath and know that there is. So anybody that's out there, listen to me. I know we're going through a lot right now, and God knows I'm going through a lot of different things right now. But there's always something popping up, and that thing that is popping up is training you for something major in life. It's never, ever just what it seems like. It's always getting you ready for something else in life.
Yeah, there's always a purpose behind it. And, you started off saying, you started off saying that you and I have a lot in common. And, you have your story, which is the story of being told what you were told, that you were not going to make it, having the learning disability. I made a post a couple of days ago where I'm someone who slipped through the cracks of the school system too, because I'm not a dropout, but they kicked me out of school. But they never really asked me what was going on with it.
Yeah.
Well, no, I felt, and I was offended. I was like, what? I was so offended because I thought, like, wait, no one even bothered to figure out, well, they just look at you and they don't know what's really happening. What if someone would have pulled me and said something to me, and something, even though fine, that needed to happen. It didn't even do anything. I still ended up going to college. I got my master's. I'm still here. And actually, it's what you're saying. Everything that I also went through served for me to do what I'm doing today. Because there's a reason why I own an agency. There's a reason why I wanted to work with foster kids. So our pain always has a purpose to it if we choose to repurpose it. Because we could use it to stand as victims. But you're badass, and you're like, no, I am not a victim, and I am not a little girl. I'm a grown-up woman.
I'm a grown woman.
And I am commissioner and everything else, all the hats that you wear.
I'm sorry I laugh when they throw you out of school, because I remember them kicking me out of school. So I'm like,
yeah, and I tell that story, and people are like, what? You look like everything was perfect for you. And I'm like, no, I just show up like this. But I was, they were sending me to opportunity school. All that stuff happened to me too, and I, like I said, I was really mad when they kicked me. I was mad. I thought, like, who are you to kick me? It was so bad. I got mad like you. But there's a reason why I study psychology. I wanted to work. The first job I got, I always wanted to go back to work in the neighborhood where I grew up. And, the law of attraction, or whatever you want to call it, I just got called to go work there. And I was like, how, what are the odds that I will get called to work in this neighborhood, with the same kids? Because I wanted to do exactly what you're saying, which is go back to work with the same kids that were just like me, to give them the message that you could do it. And basically, that's what you're saying. And a lot of people watching tonight, what would you say to them? What would you say to them if they were told they couldn't make it? Or they might be even told right now by their spouse, by their girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, family members, why are you going to do that? Like, why are you going to waste your time doing that? Like, that's going to be, what would you tell someone out there that wants to do big things, but they're being told they can't?
You know what? It's just a matter of saying, I always tell my son, when people say you can, it's like saying that you can. When people say that you can, it's like saying that you can. The one thing that I can always put out there is that we always think that everything that's going on in life is only happening to us. It's not. It's happening
Right.
in different situations.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to write this down because it's important that you write this down. Life happens without asking you. Life is not going to ask you permission for anything. So in yourself, you have to be prepared in your mind to understand that it's not just happening to you, it's life. And it happens to all of us. Life is very cruel, and it's not going to knock on your door and ask you, can I get you another shot Monday night? Can I get your son ripped off? Can I get you? It's not going to ask you any question. Life is going to happen to you. So one of the best things that I can tell you is to know who you are as an individual. You see, the most important weapon that you have against everything in life is knowing who you are as an individual. Knowing who, because you cannot serve God, you can't serve the people, you can't serve yourself, you can't do anything without understanding who you are and loving yourself. And that's the hardest thing for us to do, is to learn to accept who we are and to learn to love ourselves and know that life happens to us without. The pity party does not work. It only lasts let it last for 10 minutes and get out of it.
You're allowed 10 minutes.
10 minutes. You're allowed 10 minutes, and I teach my friend that you're allowed to mope. I'm going to give you a day. The most I'm going to give you is a day. And then you need to figure out, if anyone that knows me know that I am not a person of problem, I'm a person of solutions. Tell me the problem once.
I'm gonna add something to the end of what you said. You said know who you are as an individual. And Raymond, the guy that I do the shows on Wednesday nights, he says, know who you are and know whose you are.
Yes. I know who you're talking about. I know who he says I am.
Exactly.
I know who I am. So once he tells me who I am, I know. You ever heard the song, I know who he says I am?
Mm-hmm.
I know who I am. And so that's all that matters, is because that's why all of my degrees and all of my, certificates never really mattered for me to walk around and tell people that, because honestly, it is such a joy when you know, and when God already told you who you are. You just I can't remember the verse. And I think I see a friend of mine is watching, and I would like him. I see Pastor Hunter is watching, and it was a verse that he sent me the other day about stand with your light in front of Christ. Shine. I can't remember. I hope he can text it or put it in the feed. But just to know that, if I can bottle that feeling of self-worth, and when you have that. It is so hard to explain. And when you have that spiritual side of you that activates, it's like, when you get something to activate and you pull out the little thing and you click the battery and all that opens up, and you know who you are, standing strong in your faith. There is nothing in the world that you can fear. My mother used to tell me that I'm fearless, but I think we are fearless when we know who we are and who we serve.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, people will say, my brother or my sisters, they'll call and say, you got to be careful with this politics things. I don't know why you choose to get involved in stuff like this. And I'm like, listen.
We all have the days, right? The day that say this and that. We all have the days.
We have and if I'm going to die for something that I truly believe in.
Man, that's incredible.
Time for us to step up.
I love your story. I love and the passion that you speak with. And I also love what you just said, because so guys, whoever, if you're listening, if someone tells you you cannot do it, just tell them who you are, or tell yourself who you are. Remind yourself of who you are. That's excellent. That's the best answer. You don't need to, you don't even need to tell them, you tell yourself who you are. Well, I know who I am.
No, it's just, and it's so funny when you do that. And when we do it, people will sometimes take it for arrogancy, but it's not. It's honest to God.
Confidence. It's confidence in knowing who you are.
And knowing who I am. And I know who I am. I honestly to God, right? And it's not if I knew who I was 20 years ago, girl.
Right? That's so true. That's so true. I know it's so true. I say that all the time. So I get so mad sometimes. I'm like, oh, I wasted so much time.
Yeah, but you know what? No, it's the right time. It's the right time.
So much time, and I'm so happy that you're out there. You're so out there. It's I watch your lives, and I laugh. It's because you're just fighting every day. You're just fighting every day. You're like not holding back, and I'm not. I want to get at least up to like your knees as far as courage goes. Because talk about courage. You have so much courage, and if you guys haven't seen her lives, she does these. She does a lot of lives because people are actually bringing down her what do you call those, the
acronyms, so, as you would say, bringing down walking around. I'm a cook. Listen,
no, you're on the street.
All my signs. You mean all my signs? They're
she has signs up. Yeah, she has signs up like, you know, that say like Chef Jones for commissioner, and then people bring them down. That's how threatened they are by you. Why would you need to bring down the sign? Unless the only reason they're doing that is because you're a threat. Because why else would they have to bring down the signs?
That's what I said. I said, if I'm a commissioner for so much years and I have to go through this much to win, then I was not a commissioner. Because the people should have known you and love you and know that you're the best choice for their city. So I wouldn't have to worry about that. So for me, you know, I put up my signs myself, every single one of them. I put up with help or support from, you know, I have this young gentleman that goes around every single sign that you see up. I'm right there digging a hole. I'm right there doing every single one of them. There's no sign there that I don't, because I don't have the kind of money to have somebody out there putting up my sign. You know, I really don't have any time. And, you know, what's happening with these signs is that they're donated to me. So I started this thing called Donated a Sign. And I know that, and it was everything that's going on with me. It's like, I don't know where all of this came from, but the community has been such an outpour. People were calling, it's like, Chef, I want to donate a sign to you. Okay. And I was like, I put the prices on what the signs were. I send it out in a blast email. And then somebody will call and say, I want to donate 3 of those $75 signs. And this is called in-kind donation. Put it on my credit card. I may not have the cash to give you, but let me charge that for you. And, you know, it's just been everything, almost everything in my campaign has been done by the community, the small businesses. I've been here for 20 years.
You're for the people because you're for the people. So the people are for you as well. We got to motivate the people because the people have to come out of the house and go vote as well.
Yes, that's one of the things that I talk to them about, because I honestly, I am fearful right now for November 3rd, because you listen to the news and you saw the outcome for the primary, which was very poor. And so when you look at that, you really lose hope. And when I knock on the doors, all the people, they only come out the last year. And it's true. They come out with their food trucks and they come out with their pens and their promises. And then you don't see them again, especially when they're going into their second term. And what a lot of people don't know is that most commissioners, when they finish their second term, they're set for life. You know, they don't have to come out. They have their benefits. Everything is for them. Everything. They got everything. And so a lot of them, they get up and go to other cities and run again. And then the longer they stay in there, the more benefits they get. So they just do this as a way of building up benefits.
Right, right.
For their education, for their family, for their insurance. It really is an amazing thing to see how you'll have them come into the city. They run for that year, they get in, and then they come out and they go in another city and they run for mayor and they go up and they do this. It's just really a place where it's like people are like, why is people trying to fight for these jobs? They don't pay any money, which they really don't. But it is the benefits that's locked in after a certain age. You get after a certain term, you get great benefits.
Mm.
So
and what are you doing right now besides running for commissioner? What else do you do right now?
Well, right now I work. My job is very, very, very. It's like it's
I just want to tell you also that you look so presidential right now with the flag and the you're looking so presidential. You look so presidential.
It is what I do now. I work for Florida Department of Education and Vocational Rehabilitation. Let me VR. And
VR. Okay.
what my job is to get the people that have, some of them have different disabilities, mental disabilities. Some of them have learning disabilities. I'm not working with people with I work with people with I'm not working with the one with serious physical disability yet. I don't really want to take that on until I have like a place of business and I'm not working out of my, my computer. I don't have an office for this yet because I do most of my visiting. I go, and most of my work right now is on the computer and finding jobs and rehabilitating these people. And so my job is when they send me a referral from the city, or sorry, from VR, my job is to rehabilitate these people and also find them jobs. And most of the time I have to find them jobs that would be, people are just going to know that they have this disability. I could, there's people that is going through, that has kidney problems and can't work all hours. There's people that has record that's come out of jail and have and rehab. And some of them, I have a lot of clients that live in that's in halfway houses. I have clients that are living in shelters. And this is the most difficult thing to do, is to find people that are going to place these people in work and want to change their life.
Right.
Really bad when people come out of jail and can't. So what I have to do most of the time is teach a lot of these. When I was working for Harris Help, and a lot of these young men come out, I had to teach them entrepreneurship. There's one kid, he's doing very well right now. And he used to be, he's been a street drug dealer all his life. And he went to prison and he served, I think, 4 or 5 years. And when he came out, I go, everything you did as a drug dealer, that is called white collar business. That's what they do on Wall Street. Now you just not to sell drugs and sell something else.
Right, exactly.
And all you have to do is to turn this, not sell drugs and send something else. And right now he has all kind of cannabis cookies and brownies and bread and stuff online that he sells, and he moved to Las Vegas and he's doing great with a lot of those things, and it's teaching them to change their mindset.
Right.
Look at things. And now if I can teach everyone, I got certified by the state of Florida as a business consultant. And that was my goal, is to teach people that, because it's very hard for them to find job when they've had, especially when they have burglary. And not only that, but they're coming out of rehabilitation and they're on drugs, and some of them are alcoholics and they're on AA. And these are the kind of clienteles that mostly come. And then some of them have real disability, like learning disability, that learns differently, which most loyal people that you could ever, the most passionate people that you can come across is people that have that, because they're constantly trying to, I would say, to reach a higher goal. So like me, I was deprived so much that when I got all of my accommodation and I realized that I only learn differently and I'm very bright, I just was soaking things in just like a sponge. I just want more. I want more. I want more, because I was so deprived of my education, because people keep telling me what I can and cannot do when it comes to that when I start learning, and I got all my different things like Kurzweil that helps me read, naturally speaking jargon that helps me read my papers. When I got all these accommodations, it's like somebody that got a car that's set up to drive. It makes you feel so good that you can literally do these things yourself, even though when you're writing a paper that would take somebody else 10 minutes, it's going to take you 4 hours. It's fine. But you're just going to learn it better and you're going to know it more. So,
and I love what you said, because I don't know who's listening that may have a learning disability or may have a child with a learning disability, but learning disability does not mean low IQ. And I want everyone to know that it's what you just said. You just learn differently. And maybe you could, first I want to tell everyone out there that's watching, if you have a question for Michelle Jones, go ahead and ask it and we could answer. But can you also speak on that? Like, what does learning disability really mean, so that people can understand that it doesn't mean you know, that you cannot learn, it doesn't mean that you have a low IQ or anything like that. It means that you learn
And you
differently.
know what it means is that we learn different. And some of our, oh my God, I have this book, and I was trying to find the book the other day. I always give them to my students. And this book will tell you all the people that have learning disability and what learning disability is and how you get it. And, you know, understanding is that we're highly intelligent people, but we just process things differently. It's the same as people with highly intelligent people, very unique. I do get people also with spectrum autism spectrum. I get people with different kind of disability, and some of the most famous people, Cher. You know, Cher has learning disability. Tom Cruise have learning disability.
Einstein
have learning disability.
Einstein had a learning disability.
Yes, our first president had, and when I saw all of these people, I was like, Albert Epstein has learning disability. So many of these people, when I saw this book and I read it, I was like, well, if all these people were like me, and then, but there is the LDA, the Learning Disability of American Association, and they have these conferences every year. And I used to make sure that I was at these conferences all the time, and I was a member. And when I go to these conferences and I see these brilliant the doctor that first came out with Alzheimer's, the first medication for Alzheimer's, he has learning disability, and he was somebody that was shut away. And I see all Whoopi Goldberg, I see all these people, and I'm like, wait a minute. I do it. When you go on VR and you're
like, I knew I was awesome.
Yes, I knew I was awesome. So it's not that our IQ is some of them are math genius and some of them are not. Some of us are not. So my ability is more processing and hearing.
Right.
If it reads back to me, like boom. But if I'm reading it and it's not processing that one word, and it's also what affects my spelling. And I stopped trying to fight with it years ago. I just have to find a husband that knows how to spell well and can proofread things for me. And so that's the thing. I was like, honey, just proofread it. My best friend is like, he's like, she knows that I'm going to call her and say, is this spelled right? You know, a lot of time people will send in, I used to be embarrassed when people say, I'm like, okay, honey, I don't spell very well. So just tell me what to do and I'll put it up there. I'm not ashamed of those things anymore. I'm not.
So we're looking for a godly man that knows how to spell. Just putting it out there. A godly man that knows how to spell. That's looking for a presidential looking woman who could deal with that too, who could deal with that, who's not going to be threatened by a presidential looking woman, you know?
Yeah, that guy is there. You know, he'll definitely. You know, definitely.
You're so cool, and I love you so much. And I can't believe it took this long for us to hook up and talk. I can't believe it, because I've seen you for like almost a year now. In Circle of Champions. Okay, so MJ is saying that she's just beginning to understand this in regards to her son and even herself regarding what you were talking about, the learning disability. And what the truth about it is. And Elke says that's so very true. They just learn differently. That's my cousin. And Sam says, once you can make a difference, politics is the stepping stone. The resources our hands reach. Because he does politics in his country, which, it just slipped away from me. Trinidad and Tobago, that's what it is. A lot of people are here. People love you. People love you. Look, Raymond says, I knew she was a powerhouse, because we're all watching you on Circle of Champions posting, and we're like, who is she? Let's talk to her.
No, you know what's funny? The night I came in, and I don't know what I was doing, but you guys helped me to release so much of what was going on. I wish that I was yelling. I wish I was talking to you, literally talking to you, because here I am, because I have to use my naturally speaking dragon. I'm like, and it's not right. And I'm like, there's so much going on. I'm like, wait, that's spell right. I got to push it back and down. I'm like, okay, let me call these people, because I really wanted to just.
So funny. I totally know what you're saying right now. That's hilarious. That's good. That's actually better. That's better to
Yeah,
speak
I
into.
do because I speak to it, but sometimes, they just come up with their own languages. So you got to be really just checking and make sure because sometimes it comes out really wrong. And people are very cruel. And thank God that I am so, I am so like, people just can't offend me that way anymore. And if
Sam,
I could model all of this and give it to, I'm immune to people and their insults. Because I go through it all the time. And that's why the
perfect.
guy for me has to be somebody that knows who I am and love me just as I am, and also know that that disability is my power. It's
Yes.
what tell me where I am today.
Yes, yes. And you know what? That is so powerful because that's I'm gonna call it your thing, but we each here have that thing and it looks differently for each of us. Whatever that thing is that at one point was our burden and our pain is our superpower. It's our
Yep.
superpower story actually, because our story serves to help so many. That's why I do this, and that's why I think it's so important to do this because I mean you're motivating so many people right now that are watching. Well, Sam says that God will send soon that guy to you. The one that
Yes. You know what? You probably already have. I'm just probably just waiting.
Elkie says, I think I remember that night, the night that she met you. And Laura says that you have very thick skin. And
Oh yeah.
Elkie says she loves you. You're already loved.
We're like listen, I always tell my son, be a duck. It rolls right off your back. Water just rolls, you duck is be in the water, it just rolls off your back. And it really is, but there is time. One of the worst part about being this way though, as you know, is that everybody think that we don't feel. People think that we are just invincible to things. They don't know that we cry. They don't know, they think that because everything we're always, I mean, I don't think there's anybody have ever seen me sad, even the people that are around me. And I think closest people that my mom have seen me sad. I packed up my home when I was running for commissioner. I packed up my home, and my mom, I've been here every weekend with her because she has asthma and she has chronic asthma. And so it was very hard for me, and God works in such mysterious way. It was very hard for me to sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning when the neighbors are calling me, Michelle, your mom, the hospital, just the ambulance just took your mom to the hospital, and being here on the weekends with her. So it was the opportunity 3 years ago. I just rented out my house and said, let me go, because I know right now running for commissioner that I can't afford to run my home and put the time in and also grow my business, with that, my mortgage. So I rented out my home again, and just being here with my mom. My mom used to go in the hospital 7-8 times for the year, even more. Now she's not been there, not once. It's just me being here with her and keeping the dust down and making sure that she, like she's on her meds and she's doing her machine because she has chronic asthma, her blood pressure too. And that was also for me a really hard thing because my mom and I are like night and day. We're very different, in that sense. And so, my sisters are like, okay, we're going to figure out what, mom wants to do the end of the year and see, if she wants to come back to Connecticut, which I don't suggest that she does. But it's just been a journey for me to actually be here and get to know my mom, because my mom and I didn't really have that great of a relationship growing up, because there's a lot of things that I used to be angry with her for. But again, angry, your therapist teach you to say that I was very angry with her. And so going to therapy and learning that she also had her own traumas and her own things that she had gone through. But the one thing that I respect her for is that, she was honest in therapy. And even though it was painful, that pain again helped me to start really building a relationship with her, because I saw how it was affecting my son. And I had to change that. And so now, my mom is my little angel. She sees me cry. She sees me at my worst. And I still, can't live with my mom, but still.
Yeah, but that forgiveness, or that letting go of forgiveness, whatever word you want to put to it, is so important for us to feel better. And it's so important. I always say, like, the story didn't begin with us, and there's a time period where we believe, oh, it's happening to me, and it's my story, but no, we're just an extension of their story, because it's a generational thing. As we know, trauma is generational. And by you healing, and by you forgiving her, and even going to therapy together, that's 100% you breaking that generational curse and actually helping her heal, because that's phenomenal for her to do that with you, because they carry around so much guilt as well. It's not like, you know, there's very few parents that do things that are truly, you know, I'm going to call evil, but the majority of the parents that do things are doing it because they're wrapped up in their own trauma and in their own issues at that moment, and it causes we're just a consequence. We're just a consequence to what they're going through. And then later on is when it all comes back together if we give it a chance. But you did that. I've done that as well. And I've only done that in my 40s. I only did that in my 40s. I was still carrying around so much anger all through my 30s and knocking on the door of my 40s. I was still carrying around that anger. And thank God I let it go. Thank God I let it go. And
constantly, you know how we feed into, we find, it's like we have that recipe of disaster and we continuously use the same recipe over and over again, and we never, and it's
our story. It's our narrative, that we keep telling yourself.
Exactly. So and when I got my divorce, I decided to take that 7 year. I just waited. I didn't date anybody. I just did my education. I did my son. And, buying my own home, doing my own investments, making my own mistakes, raising my kid by myself, not introducing my kid to anybody that comes in my life, keeping him and being a mom and getting my master's. When I hear people with their complaints,
right? Excuses, right? They're
excuses about why they can't go to school and why my tolerance is this small for that. Because, and not everybody, people will say, Michelle, not everybody is as strong as you are. This strong. It's just life. I take my pain and I make it into a purpose.
It's a choice. It's a choice.
I take my pain and I take that anger and I am angry with a purpose. And anger with a purpose has got me here today, running for commissioner, having me finish my degree, raising my son, and he's in school. I raised a beautiful young man. I'm so proud. I think that's my best goal in life. My best achievement is to create a decent human being. I him 5 times, and every time he's down on himself, he plays basketball for UIW. And every time he's down on himself, I said, listen, God gave me 5 pregnancy and 1 baby. You better think of yourself at that goal. 1. I said, when you're going to call me, think of this. Mom, 5 babies, and you're the only one that's here. Think about it. Don't sit here and feel sorry for yourself. Figure it out, and let's, mope for a day and figure that out. And that's how I see life. Every time something happened to me, no matter how bad it is, God, what can I learn from this right now? And sometimes you can't see what learn. I mean, when my marriage ended, when my relationship ended, I'm like, I can't, I'm not, and there's so many different things that's going through your mind, and so many, I can't raise my son alone. How am I going to do this? And that person that you were married to is not the same man that you divorced. It's 2 different people.
Right. Yeah. That's so true. That's so true.
It's 2 different people. And so you have to make sure that your part in this is like, this is all about your kid. It is 2 different people dealing with that, going to school. When I was going through my master's, really serious things happened to me going through my master's, and even with my son. My last exam, I'm going to tell you how bad this is. My last exam, and maybe people will judge me for this. My last exam, my final exam, I had 2 finals that night. My son was playing the game, one of his biggest game at Northeast. And I am this exam, and I have my tutor with me because I had to have my tutor with me. Sometimes they, to try to explain things to me, to read back some things to me. So my tutor was there and the phone kept ringing and she's like, okay, you need to focus on this. And I took up, finally, I look at the phone and it was one of my girlfriend called me. She said, Brandon just went to the hospital.
Brandon's your son? That's my son's name.
Really?
Yes. High five. Let's high five. High five. That's my son's name.
And they said, Michelle, Brandon got hurt and the coaches are with him and he's going to be, and I'm like, okay. I had to gather myself. First of all, I just dropped the phone and I fell to the ground and I go, God, why are you doing this to me? What is it that you're trying to teach me right now? Because there's absolutely nothing for me to learn right now. And I got so angry and I'm bawling on the floor. And I never forgot the lady says, okay, just when you get out all that anger, you need to start putting things together and what you're going to do, because this exam is sitting there waiting on you and your son. So figure it out. So I said, what am I going to do? I called to make sure. I said, who's there with him? Is he hurt? How bad he is? I said, stay there. I got 1 hour to finish this exam and I got to finish it. Because I know there's nobody I can call. I know there's nothing I can do. And I know I'm like, okay, he's fine. Someone is with him. And, you know, he just fell and hit his neck and his back because that's basketball. And you can hear, I mean, you can stay. When they play that back for me, you can hear, oof. And I literally, my heart just fell to the ground. I thought, I'm like,
yes, I know.
And I went and he was, you know, he was fine. I took him home and, you know, God has put me through so much with this little boy. And he's a young man now. And for him to see all the things that I've gone through. You know, one day him and I was cutting, I was outside cutting coconut. Let me show you how good God is. And my son was playing a tournament. And I went to the tournament and every time I look at him, I said, something is wrong with him. I went to the coach. I said, coach, take him out of the game and just show you how God has created this young man for me. Okay, for me. He gave Brandon to me so I can do the things because he knows that I am going to want the best for his life. And I'm sitting outside and I'm cutting a coconut and the machete split my finger in two. And Brandon is sitting there. He was about 15 years old or 16. He was in high school. And he just saw the blood spraying. And he's like, Mom, he started like, and I grab the finger and I wrap it around. And I'm like, okay, I get to the hospital. I'm going to show you how good of a person that we serve. And when you know who you are and your spiritual is connected with the person that creates us, the spirit that creates us, I get to the hospital and the doctor is looking at my finger and he's like, we can't fix this because, and there's 2 of them that happened that way. This one split it in my fingers. And right then my son is like, Mom, I don't feel good. And out he goes. They put him on a machine. And if my son played one more game, he wouldn't be here with us today because his heart was failing. Okay? God split my finger.
That's incredible.
Hospital to make sure when they called me, his heart rate is out. And I knew something was wrong with him. I saw it.
Wow.
But I ignored. I was like, something is wrong with him. I know he's not playing. He's like, they took him out of basketball for a while. His vitamin D, it's very important that people understand how important it is for their vitamin D to be up, especially African American. It is what's keep their body to run is vitamin D. It keeps the oxygen in your body. It builds up your immune system. When your vitamin D is low, anything can happen to you. And right there, my son would have died that night. They like his heart was because, and I went there for my finger.
Wow. That's incredible.
Finger in two. And with these things that happen to me every day, I am proving over and over. Even when I started this campaign, I go, where am I going to get the money from? I'm telling you, I have $8,000 in my campaign account, and I am running a campaign like I have $1 million. Well, I don't know where it comes from.
You don't have to know how. You just have to be obedient. Everything else comes your way, right?
Every day. I don't know how.
But you're like one of the strongest women that I've met. Like you're so strong and you're so obedient. And look how far it got you. Like there's so many stories within your story that I've been quiet a lot, and usually I'm not very quiet. But I've been very quiet because I don't even know how to. We would need like 4 lives because we would need to unpack so much of this. There's so much. There's so much depth to your story. There's so much depth to you. There's so much. There's so much there. There's so much to unpack. I just don't even know what to say other than what I'm saying. There's just so much. Like you've lived 10 lives already. It feels like you know you've lived 10 lives. You have like so many different. You're carrying everything. Like you're a survivor of sexual abuse, childhood sexual abuse. You've been depressed. You know what it feels like to want to die and commit suicide, and you know what it feels like to be told you can't do it. You're an example of what happens when you're angry and how you repurpose that anger. Look at how good anger is. Look what you know. It isn't until you're angry, fed up, pissed off, and all of that that you make real changes in your life. And you're an example of that because I'm always saying that, and you're such a great example of that. You've been divorced. You're a single mom. Like there's so many stories. You've lost 4 pregnancies. You kept 1 and you lost 4. There's most people have one of those stories. You have like all the stories.
I used to ask that to God. I'm like,
all of them.
I swear to you, one day I was dropped to the floor and I start crying because I'm like, what the hell are you training me for? To run the world? I mean, why am I going through so much? What are you trying to teach me?
And you are so young. You are so young. And so much more of you, like so much more of you. You know, you literally shut me up. You literally got me quiet because I'm just like, man, like we're just starting here. We're just starting here. I just want to buy one of your signs and support you. I just want to support you and be like, I know her and I'm supporting her. I'm so glad we met. Like you're awesome. MJ says thank you for sharing her with us, Sarai. You're welcome. I know I got a good eye. I got an eye for greatness. I do have an eye for greatness. I'll tell you that much. That's my superpower. Laura says powerful. And Laura says mother issues. Yeah, and that's right. I forgot the mother issues, Laura. She's reminding me like,
listen, you don't want to talk about the father issues. You know, until this day, I still struggle with having a relationship with my dad. It is, you know what, in our country, where are you from?
I was born here. My mom is Cuban and my dad is Ecuadorian. I was born in New York.
Okay, so you were born here. I was raised in Connecticut, but I was born in Jamaica. And I don't have an accent because I can't have an accent when I want to.
Yeah.
Going back there a lot.
You're such a strong woman. I still have yet to meet a Jamaican woman that isn't strong. Jamaican women will like, Jamaican women are like tough cookies, like really tough. I still haven't met one that isn't strong.
Yeah, because I always tell people one of the accepting that I accepted in my life. I used to make up stories all the time about my mom and dad being married and all of that because I was ashamed. I was really ashamed of the fact that I was the product of an affair. And that was something that I had to, know. And I think that's where most of my strength comes from is the abandonment of my dad hiding me for years from his wife and his family, not knowing that, me being there. And then my father taking responsibility when I was a little girl and brought me here, took me from my mom and brought me here to this country. And, I went through a turmoil of abuse through that, in that. And so, and I was angry at first with my stepmom. I was, but I yet to take that anger again and made it because I now as an adult, I literally understand how she felt to actually every day get up and see that affair in her face every day, raising somebody else's child that her husband had an affair with and brought it in home. And I know a lot of women go through this. It was the shame and it was an embarrassment for me to know that I came from that. But then I understood that how perfect I am because God created me just this way. He had a purpose for me because my mother didn't have to have me. I'm the youngest. I was that affair that she had, didn't even know that he was a married man and says, okay, what am I going to do with this kid? I have 4 kids that I'm in Jamaica and I have 4 older kids and I have to do this, but here's this child that you're going to leave me with. So understand that. That was something that I know. And this is one of the reasons why I'm very, very curious about it. I don't, about married men. I have a phobia for that. They come around me and I'm like, I'm going to tell your wife, don't talk to me. So, I really respect marriage because I've been to where I can see now as an adult what that can do to a marriage and what that can do, because I had nothing to do with the affair. I was just the product of it. And
Right.
so because of that, I got it from both ends, of
Yeah.
time she sees me and the anger that comes from my father, and my father not showing me that love because he didn't want her to know that, he treasured my mom and he loved my mom and they made me. And I came from that. So it was really not having the same dad with my sisters. So here I am, I'm the black sheep in the family. And right now I think somehow I'm still like that. This person that's there. And
well, you repurpose that. You repurpose that black sheep thing. You repurpose it. Now you're the black sheep of Tamarack. You're like, you put in my things out, you'll see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Hey,
so for all of you out there, I do need your support on it. Listen, my link is there. If you guys can support my campaign, I just really love it. Any donation, any in-kind services, any I need commercial. Anybody out there that has a hookup with Comcast or one station that I can create a commercial with, anybody, because I know that I was made for this position and I know that I can bring hope back to the people of Tamarack, this small part of the world. If this is the hope that I can bring back for people to be an example of what this used to be like, because I think back in the days, there was really good politicians. Back in the days, I think there was really people that really care about their community, and that's what people do. But today it's changed. It's people with all different kind of ulterior motives, and the motive is not the people. It's more for what they can get out
for them. Yeah. And with everything you shared, you'd be an amazing commissioner. Like you'd be, I mean, I'm not in Tamarack, so I can't vote for that, but you'd be an amazing commissioner with everything you've shared. You're definitely for the people. Absolutely. And you know what it feels like too. I mean, God has gifted you with all of these different pains so that you could be for every kind of person, like every.
And that's what made me a good therapist.
Yes, like everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
You're not, there's so much there, but that makes you so relatable, and it makes you be able to understand so many different kinds of people. That makes you perfect for what you're going to be doing, right? What you're going to be doing going forward, completely. Way more than being a therapist, way more than anything you've done so far.
Anything that I've ever done so far. I think this is like, I would say this is. I have a friend that tells me that it's my season. It is your season. And everything that you've gone through in life has trained you for right now. And as you can see the world that we're in right now is that we need people that can bring hope back to people honestly and care about people and want to see people and want to see the world change and want to see the people change. I can't say I'm going to change the world, but I promise if I have the opportunity to become the next commissioner of Tamarack, that I am going to make a difference.
Definitely. And your story brings so much hope. Your story is hope. Like it's so much hope. Like it really, really is. I totally support you. And like everything you're doing. And I can see the people here also support you. Can you send me your link so that we could post it?
Oh, sure. I can.
Your link. So
okay,
thank you so much for joining me tonight, and thanks to everyone out there who joined us tonight. MJ, Laura, Raymond, Sam, everyone out there, Zori, everyone that joined us. And you all got a taste of who Michelle Jones is, and it should be Michelle Hope Jones. That's what it should be, because you are like so much hope. You're like a little bit of everything. You're awesome. Okay, so good night, everyone. Just want to say
that I'm relatable. I say that I'm relatable. And thank you, everyone. I'm going to send you my link. Please make a donation to my campaign. And thank you. Keep hope alive.
Yes.